What's going on, everyone? Coming at you with some more One Piece gameplay. Today's matchup is between Whitebeard and Law. Whitebeard is a deck that, again, I've actually been having a lot of fun playing since the changes, and since you're not so reliant on playing the exact same package, there is a bit more flexibility now with the list. Obviously, 6k leader is just extremely strong, and it's very, very difficult for some decks to deal with, especially decks that are really tight on their turns. And also having to constantly deal with these 6k swings means that you have decks have to run more 2k counters. So we'll have to see how things shake up when the new Luffy leader comes out, if the power change was enough. But we're gonna see Law come out with the Tony Chopper, and then we're gonna answer with an Ezo of our own. Ezo's gonna grab the Atmos here. And then we did like that play so much, we're going to drop another Ezo to see what we can grab as well. And we're going to grab the Thatch. So our next two turns are basically just mapped out for us. We have the Atmos and then the Thatch, basically. We forgot to put 6 life out, so just ended up drawing one instead. No harm, no foul. Sometimes getting used to playing this leader means that you have to get used to giving yourself 6 life. And so our opponent's going to play a Curly de Dawn here, and they're going to grab a Nami off of that Curly de Dawn, and that likely means they're going to play that Nami out, and they're going to reveal top 5, and they might look to grab a Zoro here. So the 3-cost Zoro, big fan. It looks like this Law is big fan of the 3-cost Zoro. We're going to swing 6, and then we're going to play an Atmos here, and we're going to take that life. Atmos is a great card. All of these vanillas are super great in Whitebeard because your opponent, yes, they can spend cards to get rid of these vanillas, but again, you're still swinging 6 every turn with your leader. It just kind of wears your opponent down. And then being able to play these big bodies that don't really do anything except our big bodies, it really kind of de-incentivizes your opponent from wanting to swing at them. I think the best way to go about playing against Whitebeard is to just kind of have a game plan in mind and kind of follow that game plan all the way through for the rest of the game, and just kind of know what you want to do against Whitebeard, because they're going to do the same thing most games. And yeah, there's going to be cards that are variables, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to see a killer come down after the Bonnie, and they're going to use the Law effect to bounce the Curly de Dawn and to play the Blocker Law, and then they're going to use Blocker Law to bounce the Nami and play the Zoro, and then pass turn. And so we have a pretty wide board on the side of Law here. So we're going to swing 6 with Atmos here, and see if we can get our opponent to counter out, and they are. And then we're going to swing 6 again with the leader here, and they're going to take it, and then we're going to play Thatch. So our hand is getting pretty big here. Looks like we have 11 cards in hand or something like that. 10 or 11 cards in hand. Hard to say. But it's getting to a point where, we have 2 big bodies out as well. So our opponent's going to go ahead and they're going to use Bonnie, and they're going to look at their top 5, and they're going to grab the starter deck Law, which does do a lot of work with its ability to restand things. And so you could get some couple big swings with the Zoro. I think the Zoro is actually quite good against Whitebeard because it forces 2Ks out, and then with 2 Dawn, he's 8K, so it forces 2 cards out of Whitebeard's hand. Whitebeards, I think, now are looking to play a lot of 2Ks and just take their life at this point. You're looking to more protect your characters if you can, but with the loss of Radical Beam and not being able to play the 9-drop Newgate, it's not as important to keep all of your life alive, because you're not going to get as much value. So we're going to see a 9k swing here at leader from the Zoro, or at Atmos, I believe, actually. So we're gonna think about protecting it, because we know that there's a restand Law, so we're gonna pitch 2 2Ks here to protect it, and we're gonna try and see if we can force our opponent to use the restand Law on it, because they're gonna be bouncing one of their blockers to do that. And so again, they're gonna swing 6 at the Atmos as well, which we're gonna counter out of with a Fossa, and then they're gonna use the leader effect to bounce the Chopper to play the Law to restand the Zoro and swing again, and then at that point we're going to let it go. This turn we do have some options. Things like Ace would be good, which hey, look at that. So we're going to use Ace to minus the Zoro and the Law here, and then we're going to swing Ezo at the Bonnie, which they're going to let go. We're going to swing Ace at the Zoro here, which they can either block with the killer or let go. looks like they're gonna opt to let it go potentially, just because like there's so many swings at it. It just doesn't make sense to like to keep it alive. We're gonna swing 6 at leader here with the Newgate. They're gonna 2-gate counter out of it, and then we're gonna swing 8 at leader here, and we're going to pass turn with 1 Dawn active. The 1 Dawn being, you know, it could be like a Radical Beam, it could be a guard point. We are playing the 1 of Radical Beam. I think it's still a very good card, but again, we're also playing things like Crossfire. Crossfire is a card that's, I think, really good in Whitebeard because it can be used offensively and defensively. And now that you're not playing the 9-drop, you're going to have more turns where you're going to have more Dawn available. I am in this list maxed out on aces, so I think like ace is kind of where I top out at. So being able to play like an ace and then leaving 3 Dawn up for like a guard point and a Crossfire makes a huge difference. It basically means that like you have to get them to use all of their Dawn on their leader to swing at you, because that's the only way that like they can play around Crossfire, right? So also you could play Red Hawk if you are interested in playing Red Hawk. Red Hawk's actually probably a really good card into this meta, because a lot of Zoro and Law decks are being played, so you could run that as well if you didn't want to run Crossfire. We're going to see a Nami come down here looking at the top 5, and that's going to grab another starter deck Zoro. So another one being grabbed here, just kind of loading up on it. It is a good threat against Whitebeard, but I do think it's a bit slow for some of the other matchups, just because it can be dealt with pretty easily as it's a 3 cost, and as we saw, like, Krieg had no problem handling it. Green has a really good time against Law in general, so it could be a bit slow. I know that some decks run like 1 of it, and some decks run like the 4-cost vanilla Film Zoro as well. There's a ton of flexibility with Law. It's really what you want to make of it, and that's one thing that I like now, is that there's tons of flexibility in this game. Yes, there are optimal builds, but there's always room for tweaks, and always, like, when you look at deck lists for regionals or for top cuts, there's always a ton of variety, so I really do enjoy that, being able to kind of customize your gameplay and your style. This turn is a pretty big one for Law here, because they really are in a position where they have to stabilize, because right now Whitebeard has all the tempo. There's 2 massive bodies. They still have 2 life left. There's only 1 life left on the side of Law, and you have to be worried about something like a Rush Luffy coming down, because Rush Luffy just kind of blows you away. If you ever go down to no life, it's a card that can really just put a ton of pressure on. So we're gonna see the Bonnie come down, and it looks like Bonnie actually whiffs there, which feels really bad. That's something that doesn't usually happen when you're playing Law. You're usually playing enough Supernovas that it does not whiff, but we do see that whiff, and so that's going to put them a bit behind, because that's a card out of hand. Now on the bright side, they do have enough Dawn to enough characters to use their effect, so we could see Bonnie bounce back playing the Rush Luffy here. So Rush Luffy is another threat on board. So we're going to see, it looks like a 7k swing at leader, which we're going to opt to take here. And then we're going to see an 8k swing at, I think it's at leader as well, or at ace, sorry, which we're going to counter out of. And then we're going to see a 6k swing at the Ezo. And that looked like a bit of a mistake, but let's just kind of talk about like what the play was, but they opted to just continue with it. So it's a 10 Dawn turn here. This game has been pretty explosive when it comes to like the turns, because we're not even like, Law hasn't even been a 10 Dawn yet. So we're gonna swing 8 here at leader with Thatch, and just see what our opponent wants to do. And it looks like they're just like thinking about blocking, which they do. And then we're going to swing 7 with ace at leader here, which again, they're thinking about, you know, giving or giving up. They're going to counter out of it. We're going to swing leader here with 6k. And again, they're going to use a jet pistol to pop the Ezo, so it cannot be swung with. You know, we're going to play the Rush Luffy down, and we're going to load him up, and we're going to swing 11 at leader. Yeah, that's game. Our opponent's hand is full of bricks, and they can't counter out of it. So It's just like Rush Luffy can take people by surprise. It's a card that you probably weren't playing unless you're playing Strawbeard, and now there's room for it again, so it does good against decks like Law and against matchups that you struggled with, I think, in the past with Black. So tons of options for Whitebeard now. Thanks so much everyone for tuning in, and until next time, Monty out.